What if I told you guys there was something that you could take that would reduce your risk of all causes of disease and mortality, if it would decrease body inflammation, if it would increase blood circulation, make you feel good, maybe decrease some brain fog, increase cognitive performance, have all these amazing benefits? Would you do it? How much would you pay for it? It might cost a little bit of money. It would probably cost a little bit of time, but you don't have to get a doctor's prescription. You don't have to go crazy far places. All you got to do is go to your local grocery store. Those are just some of the amazing benefits, guys, that good nutrition will give you. So thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. My name is Courtney Condon, occupational therapist. I'm your host today. Welcome back to the Holistic Travel Therapy Podcast. I'm so excited to bring you today's episode. We are going into an April book of the month. So I really thought that it would be an amazing opportunity to give you some great book recommendations. I've been reading lots of books this year, and I wanted to come on and give you two of my favorite this far. So I led with that information about nutrition because one of the books that I'm going to be talking about today has a lot of amazing information about nutrition. And then the second book that I'm going to talk with you guys about today is going to be filled with information about mindfulness and a great way to start your day and ways to develop a good morning routine. So these are the two books. So the first one I have right here is Miracle Morning. As you can guess, it's probably the one about the morning routine. And then the second one is Superlife. Looks a little worn. I took it to Florida with me. But this one is all about nutrition, hydration, lots of great things that are going to help improve your overall life. So I'm gonna start with this one first because I kind of led with that information on nutrition. This one is by Darren O'Lean. And if you guys have seen Down to Earth by Zac Efron, he is the superfood hunter that's with Zac Efron. If you guys haven't seen that, I would highly suggest checking it out. It's amazing. I think that Zac Efron, he says he wants to use his platform as an actor, as someone famous, to bring attention to some of these things that maybe aren't as well known about health and wellness and longevity in particular. So it's really awesome. It's on Netflix. There's 2 seasons, so I'd go check that out. But this is the superfood guru that he goes along with. And in this book, he talks about there are 5 life forces. That's what he calls them because he really feels like they're driving factors in your life and in improving your overall well-being and feelings and moods. So I'll go through those first really quick. The 5 life forces are going to be nutrition, hydration, oxygenation, alkalization, and detoxification. So as you kind of already heard me say, there's so many benefits to eating real foods. That's what we're talking about, fresh, whole, real foods. He actually talks a lot about eating raw vegetables and obviously fruits and the benefits that those bring. We cook our food, which he also talks about some of the benefits of cooking food, mainly for taste and for help with digestion. But really there's a lot of water that he kind of talks about in the hydration aspect as well, in the nutrition aspect, that helps to provide our bodies with all these processes to help with the oxygenation, alkalization, and detoxification. So it's really cool. He kind of flows the topics together, and he'll go into other little short, everything's kind of a short little chapter. Talks about his life as a superfood hunter, talks a lot about protein, fat, talks about nutritional stress, and just exercise, overall wellness things. So I kind of tagged a part of each of the chapters that I felt was really special, and I'll just kind of give you guys a little bit of a taste of that. So the one on nutrition, he says, what is so great about broccoli? To begin with, it's an excellent source of vitamins A, C, and K, folate and fiber, and a good source of manganese, tryptophan, potassium, magnesium, omega-3 fatty acids, iron, calcium, zinc, vitamin B and E, and the carotenoids lutein and zeaxanthin, which protect the eyes, among other things. Right there, it's like, okay, if you weren't already eating broccoli, I would want to add it into my diet. So he goes on to also talk about that not only does it contain all those things, but it actually provides something that it doesn't contain, a chemical called sulforaphane, a sulfur compound. This substance doesn't actually exist in broccoli, but when we chew it, enzymes in our saliva combine with sulforaphane's precursor contained in the vegetable, and presto, there it is. The sulforaphane then activates 200 different genes, some of them protecting us from cancer and other preventing diseases that spread. So just there, it's like giving you all this information. Obviously we know like eating broccoli is good for us, right? But why? And he kind of goes into that. For some people that might be too much information, and that's why you might listen to our podcast, because you're like, Courtney and John give us the facts, I just want the cliff notes, I'm not going to read all that. So just knowing that, think of all the other benefits that come from every other fruit and vegetable. For example, he does go into a study. He does have some few studies throughout that he says the British Medical Journal published this study and found that people who ate fruit at least twice a week, especially apples, blueberries, and grapes, were up to 23% less likely to develop type 2 diabetes than those that ate no fruit more than once a month. Twice a week, that's all you gotta do, you know? So he gives you some examples of things to eat, and he actually, even in the back, gives you recipes, like a little cheat sheet. He gives you where to find superfoods. He gives you where to get minerals, it's like, for me, it was so awesome. But I understand everyone might not enjoy that kind of reading. So I'm gonna carry on to something about hydration. I think that it is super important. He really made me understand like how important hydration is. It is just so important in everything. Let me try to get to that part. Other than that. So he says water is, our bodies are 75% water. That percentage is the lowest as we get older. So it's so important to get in a lot of water, especially as we age and as we are younger. He really talks about that a lot. Like, how many times do we go to a restaurant and on the kids menu, it's like sodas, juices, like, you know, a lot of these kids menu items are tailored towards kids having sugary beverages. And he talks about specifically when children are younger, how important it is to get in that proper hydration. That, you know, since so much of our body is made up of water, it helps to run pretty much everything in the body. You know, our brain really feeds off of water as well. So making sure that we stay hydrated, not only for, you know, our body, but for our brain. He really talks about as well that once we feel thirst, like we get thirsty, it's like too late. Your body's essentially already dehydrated. It's not that you are like, you know, oh, you should drink a little bit of water. It's like you really need to get some good water, some good electrolytes into your body because you're already so dehydrated. So that was something else that I feel like I've heard before, but I kind of forget, especially if, you know, we're busy all day. I'm seeing tons of patients. I gotta talk a lot. The last thing I'm thinking about is drinking water. But once I get thirsty, I'm like, oh crap, I need to catch up because I wanna make sure that I'm staying ahead of it. So the last three, oxygenation, alkalization, and detoxification, they're not as widely talked about in terms of like the benefits for our body. And I think when we, especially like detoxification, we think about like going on a diet or a detox or something like that. And that's kind of what I thought. But he really talks about how our body is constantly detoxifying and working because there are so many toxins in today's everyday environment, in our shampoos, in our body washes, in the food we eat. If we're not actively thinking about those things, our body is constantly working to get rid of some of those excess chemicals. I believe I am screwing this up. These are not really good sticky notes. So I'm going to the page and then they're all falling out. I think the other really cool thing about this book is that he gives you a little bit of like a cheat sheet guide at the end of every chapter. So for example, I'll go to the detox one. You read through the whole chapter, you're like, I got so much great information. And then right at the end, he gives you that simple to-do list that talks about really like high key points that he brought up in the chapter. So for detoxification, he says, eat foods and adopt habits that support your liver and kidney functions, since those organs, especially the liver, have to handle all the toxicity that you absorb every day. Get plenty of iron, copper, zinc, folic acid, and the coenzyme Q10, as well as vitamins A, B, especially B6 and 12, C, and E, so that your immune system can function properly. Brightly colored fruits and vegetables are typically high in antioxidants, which is why it's important to let your eyes guide you to those foods. So again, just kind of simple things that we don't really think about all the time. And it is so important to maintaining that overall health and wellness. I think something that I found super interesting in this book was about alkalization. We talked about it probably, if you remember, like way back in middle school science class, they were like a pH scale, right? If some of you guys remember 0 to 14, the pH of water is 7, that's neutral. So he talks about how a lot of the things we do every day are acidic. Not only the foods we eat, the thoughts we think, the stress we feel, that is all causing acidity in our bodies. He talks about specifically how, like I said, pH of water is 7. A pH of a Diet Coke is 2.5. 2.5. So if we are constantly filling our bodies with some of these acidic foods, drinks, stresses, that our total body is going to be very acidic. And that leads to additional issues within our whole body, inflammation, a lot of that pain, a lot of that stress. So he talks about how to kind of even out the scales. I won't give you too much more information. If that sounds like something you'd really want to look into, then definitely check out this book. Again, gives you a list in the back, but also I believe in the chapter of which foods, I guess not in the chapter, but in the back of which foods are most acidic and which foods are more basic. So that's going to be on the higher end of the pH scale to kind of even everything out. Raw fruits and vegetables, he said, are very basic, so they're higher on that pH scale, which is going to help even out that acidicness of everyday life. I'm not saying don't enjoy a Diet Coke. I'm sure even healthy sodas, they have sugar, they have carbonation, they're going to have a lower pH. That doesn't mean don't enjoy them. It just means what else can you do in your daily life to balance out that pH scale a little bit. Find ways to eliminate or at least cut down everyday mental strife. Emotional stress also acidifies our tissue by promoting the release of cortisol and other stress responses. Surround yourself with people who inspire you and make you laugh. Speak honestly and truthfully about what is going on in your life. So simple things we never really think of, like surrounding ourselves with good people. We've talked about it before on this podcast, like the feelings that you get, the endorphins you release. It helps to actually change processes in your body to make your body less acidic and a little bit more basic. So to me, that was super cool. The one last life force that we're going to talk about here is going to be oxygenation, which is super important in terms of like everyday, again, stress function. He talks about the importance of eating those raw fruits and vegetables as well. Going back to that stress aspect, he talks about the importance of getting in those deep breaths, right? So a lot of times when we're stressed, when we're going through every day, we're taking short, shallow breaths through our mouth most likely, and we tend to not take a big, deep, full breath. John and I have talked about it on the podcast before, the benefits of meditation, and he re-emphasizes it here, guys. It is so important. Even if you catch yourself often breathing through your mouth, try to kind of close your mouth. Take a big, deep breath in through your nose. Really feel your abdomen expand, and then you can let it out through your mouth. And doing that a few times is going to help to not only like decrease your overall stress, kind of calm your mind, but it's going to help to bring some great oxygen into your body. So if there's anything you can take away from the first half of this episode, guys, it is going to be eat more fruits and vegetables, right? Drink more water. It's going to be breathe deeper, get some nice air in. He also talks about the importance of exercise, because as we exercise, we tend to breathe heavier, therefore increasing our oxygenation. So go for those walks. We always tell you guys about exercise. When it comes to alkalization, right? Can you decrease stress? Can you decrease some of those acidic foods that you eat? And then lastly, when it comes to detoxification, making sure, again, you're getting in those brightly colored fruits and vegetables. They're going to provide so many amazing minerals and vitamins to help detox the body and promote good liver function. So I hope that wasn't too much information. Like I said, I love this book. John always likes to rate things, and we didn't do that before. So I'm gonna rate it now because I'm a nerd and I love the science. He talks about research studies and everything, gives you recipes, gives you shopping lists. I'm honestly gonna rate this like an 8.7. There's so much great information. I probably should rate it higher, but he does talk about primarily a plant-based diet, which I love the idea of a plant-based diet. However, I still eat meat, and he does talk about some of the negative things about meat, so I don't want to not talk about that on the podcast. But for me personally, I've read other really amazing things about the consumption of meat, so that's why it's just a little bit lower for me. But again, my diet is mainly plant-based. I am still going to eat a little bit more animal protein though. He talks about it in here. So the next one is going to be The Miracle Morning. And I actually heard about this book on another podcast. I can link it to you guys in the show notes. That podcast had the author of the book on. I'm not that fancy yet, but maybe we could get there one day. And he kind of talked about his experience and why he started The Miracle Morning, and then he wrote a book on it. And now, like it says in the beginning, over 2 million copies sold. There's Facebook groups. There's lots of, this is like the updated version, I think it says, updated and expanded edition. So he kind of like changed things a little bit, talked more about people's experiences and kind of the community itself. So essentially the basis of The Miracle Morning is an individual who was a little down and depressed. He was going through some stuff in his life, and he was like, I want to be that guy. I want to be like the person that wakes up every morning and they are energetic, feeling good, ready to attack the day. So it kind of talks a little bit about his past, his life story, and then it goes into talk about, he was like, all right, I'm going to research what the most successful people do every morning. So of course he came across things like meditation, exercise, reading, journaling, what are the other ones? Visualization, and there's one more, I think. Affirmations. All right. So he like saw those. He's like, didn't know which one to do first. And he was like, why not just do all of them? So he talks about how he woke up really early one morning, set aside like 20 to 30 minutes to do each of these. So kind of even, well, maybe not that long, but really was suggesting like a solid hour to 2 hour morning routine. And he goes to coin them as his savers. SAVERS. So he kind of changes the names a little bit. The first S stands for silence. So that is where you're going to get that meditation. He talks about prayer, gratitude, anything to just silence your mind for a little bit. First thing in the morning, not just like get up and get going with your to-do list. That might be causing a little extra stress. Then A is going to be affirmations. So positive affirmations to help with your mindset, positive mindset. V, visualization. E is exercise, R is reading, and then the last S is for scribe or writing. So he kind of changed it a little bit to make it a nice acronym that you can remember. So I really liked that. I am one of those people that already exercise in the morning, so I was kind of like, this book was appealing to me because I was like, I always want that edge. I'm like, how can I go from here to there? So I decided to buy the book. And even before I bought the book, after listening to the podcast, he did give a little bit of an explanation of each. I was like, okay, I'm gonna start this. You know, I'm a person though that I already, like I said, wake up early for work, wake up early before work so I can exercise. So the last thing I really wanted to do was like wake up even earlier. Like I'm a go-getter, but I'm not like I'm gonna wake up at, 4 o'clock in the morning for no reason, go-getter. Like I love my sleep. And I love spending time with John in the evening. So the last thing I wanted to do was like, hey, gotta go to bed at 7:30 so I can wake up at 4. So I did kind of shorten the savers a little bit for myself, but he talks about going into detail just with a few of them that I resonated with. So he goes into a little bit of each of them. Like I said, first he kind of talks about his backstory. And then when he goes into each of them, the chapters, I really appreciated how he did talk about like prayer, gratitude, breath work with that silence in the morning. So instead of really doing like a true meditation, I do breath work because as I kind of talked about in other episodes, I do the Wim Hof breathing. So I use that time to really silence my mind. Sometimes while I'm doing it, I will kind of say my positive affirmations. I'll try to clear my mind and give myself that positive mindset to kind of just start the day off with a calm mind and on that positive note. So it's not one size fits all. You can really adapt this to yourself. I spend the most time there on the, meditation, the breathing aspect. I also, like I said, try to sneak in some affirmations. When I'm done with that, I can definitely add in a few more. Also, when it comes to the visualization, I think that I love that he brought it up because when we think about visualization, we really think about elite athletes, right? When we are like thinking about what goal we want to achieve, right? Sometimes elite athletes are like, okay, I'm gonna run this mile, I want to perform at this pace. They visualize themselves running. As you play basketball, I think that's a great example. We hear a lot about visualization with elite NBA players. They're envisioning themselves like on the court, playing their heart out, getting every single basket, they're playing the best defense, and then by visualizing that, it happens. He talks about studies in this book as well, so it's always awesome to see the studies done on visualization. And one is that the time to do a task was decreased by consistent visualization of that task. He also talks about, though, visualization in everyday life, right? We're sometimes doing that without even thinking when we're thinking about what we want to do or what we have done. So how can we make that visualization constructive? How can we use it to get us towards our goals, get us towards a better mindset and overall outlook on life? What I've done is, I will admit, I used to do a lot of visualization on handstands because I really wanted to get a 30-second handstand. So I was like, let's cut the time down. Let's visualize myself doing a handstand, holding it for 30 seconds, And then I was like, I do that sometimes still. But I was like, what other aspects of my life should I really visualize me performing at my best? Because I want to perform at my best in every aspect of my life. And sometimes I do get a little worked up over, no reason. So I really started to do that. And I was kind of like imagining myself in a stressful situation and imagining myself, not stressing out about it, not getting emotional about it, not having that panic moment, and just kind of calmly and peacefully handling it. And I won't say that it works 100% of the time, but I really do feel like that if I can reimagine that moment of me laying on the floor, doing my visualization, when I'm in that real scenario, it helps me handle it just a little bit better. So hopefully you guys can find something similar in your lives, whether it's like an annoying coworker or a stressful boss or, sometimes nagging children. Can you imagine yourself like, how can I handle this the absolute best? And visualize that and kind of rehearse that, and then maybe the next time it happens, you have a better outcome. He talks about the benefits of exercise in the morning. I think that just increasing blood flow, like first thing, is really great for so many reasons. So he doesn't even say like, you got to do a full 60-minute workout. I do because I love it. He says like do 10 jumping jacks, right? Maybe do a little stretch, do a little yoga flow. What can you just do for a little bit first thing in the morning to get your blood moving and your body working? The last two I also like really resonate with when it comes to journaling and reading. So that's something, the reading I've really done and the journaling I've really done every morning, and I honestly enjoy it so much. I do my breathing, and then I do my visualization and my affirmations with my breathing, and I go into my journaling. And I have made my own journal, and I'd be happy to share the link for you guys on Amazon. It has a positive affirmation in the top, so you have that affirmation right there, and then it has either a Bible verse that kind of talks about overcoming stress and fear, or a quote about overcoming stress and fear that is at the bottom. So I read those, and I kind of like resonate with those, or I resonate with something going on in my life. Sorry, Alexa's telling us about the weather tomorrow. But I use that to then kind of journal, and I just, whatever I have on my mind, I get on a piece of paper. That's what he talks about. That's kind of the best way to start the day or end the day, is just like getting things off your mind, getting it onto a piece of paper. So I really found that beneficial. I'll also sometimes write something I'm grateful for, and this is something I heard on a different podcast, but if it's a person that I'm grateful for, I will sometimes even go that extra step and text that person like, hey, I'm thinking of you today. I really appreciate you being in my life, because not only am I thankful for that person, I want them to know about, the impact that they have. So it's kind of that chain reaction. And then the last one is reading. I don't read for very long. I read for like 2 to 5 minutes as I walk on the treadmill for my warm up at the gym. I really try to compact everything, guys, in like a 20 to 30 minute morning routine. I'm not over here spending hours on it. I'm not trying to make it a stressful thing. If there's a day that I forget my book, oh well, I'm not gonna go back into the apartment and get it. If there's a day that I'm like, I only wanna do 1 or 2 rounds of breathing, if I forget to do the affirmations or visualizations, like, it's all good. I don't make it a stressful thing. I really try to use it as a guideline to set myself up for a successful day. So if that sounds like something that you were interested in and you're like, okay, I'd like to have that routine, like definitely check out this book. I can link both these books in the show notes below. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, amazing information out there through books, and I enjoy learning and I love to share it with you guys, and I hope you enjoyed this episode as well. We always like to challenge you with something this week, so I will give you 2 challenges, so they're a little separate. One is going to be to take something from the first half of this podcast that I talked about, whether it's nutrition, breathing, hydration. Where can you implement that into your life? I think sometimes if we said it in a last week's episode and you did it for a few days and you continue it, amazing. If not, maybe this is your opportunity to hop back on and try it again. And my second is going to be to read, right? It kind of talks about that in this book, the importance of reading. You can get so much information. It doesn't have to be a whole book. Maybe it's a interesting article you saw online. Maybe it's a small passage in a magazine. Maybe it's, a book that you really enjoy that you've already read and you want to read it again. This is your opportunity, guys, to fill yourself up with positive, uplifting information, or something that you enjoy. Maybe it's just a murder mystery book that's really interesting to you. So thank you guys again so much for tuning in. I love coming to you with this information. I really do appreciate you tuning in, and thank you for your feedback. A lot of people give us amazing comments and questions about our podcast, and we can't thank you enough. So definitely check back in next week, guys, for another amazing episode of the Holistic Travel Therapy Podcast. Until then, have a great week.